Her world, sensual, dazzling. His world, dangerous, violent. Drawn by a mystery, their lives converge. Faye Dunaway, Tommy Lee Jones, Eyes of Laura Mars. A thrilling vision of romance and terror. Rated R.
Start.
How would you like to disappear?
Disappear?
Go undercover.
You know this man?
Who's here? I'm here. You're here.
These victims are all the same physical type.
What about him, Skip?
Late 20s, 140, 150 pounds. Dark hair, dark eyes.
Have you ever seen him before?
I want to send you out there to see if you can attract this guy.
How, where?
A New York City detective in search of a killer is about to disappear into the night.
Is it dangerous?
I can't talk about it.
How do you know you're gonna end up the same person when it's over?
An odyssey to the edge of city life.
Bartenders are starting to give me some information. There's this name keeps popping up all the time.
There he is. The one with the hat. Is that the one that followed you?
Yeah,
Why didn't you go with him?
I don't know. I think you should check him.
If you want to play, I'll play with you.
He's the wrong guy.
Prints don't match.
What he sees
Who's here?
what he feels,
I don't think I can do the job, Captain. I don't think I can handle it.
I'm here.
There's just stuff going down. I don't think I can deal with it.
You're here.
what he experiences. What he discovers will change his life forever. Al Pacino.
Who's here? I'm here. You're here.
Cruising.
And welcome in, everybody. I am Chrissy. I am the film nerd, joined by my fellow slasher bro over there, Darren from Subjective Perspective Collective. We have a big one today, a very cool one to do. Slasher Stream. This is Slasher Stream episode 9. If you can, hit that like, hit that subscribe. How you doing there, Darren?
Not too bad, not too bad. I'm looking forward to this one. This is going to be a crazy. Well, talking about cruising is going to be crazy, actually. But no, yeah, doing good.
Very good. We are talking about two basically American Giallo films. So, I mean, literally, like, you just take the stuff from Argento, Bava before him, Fulci, like Martino. You have these films that are very good. So we're talking about two bangers today. Talking about The Eyes of Laura Mars from 1978. Screenplay and story by John Carpenter. He did this film before Halloween and stuff like that as well. Technically, it's his film, directed by Irvin Kershner. We all know him from Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back fame and stuff like that. My all-time favorite Star Wars film from 1978. Faye Dunaway, Tommy Lee Jones. Oh, God. Raul Julia is in here. Of course, Brad Dourif. We all know him for the voice of Chucky. I know him, of course, for his best role, in my opinion, and that's The Exorcist 3. But, yeah, this is a star-studded cast in here. Renee Bargenois is in here as well. I'm going to have fun talking about him. He's a very good actor. and all great actors. And we're going to deep dive into this one as well as this film. This was a great first time watch. Eyes of Laura Mars was a second time watch for me. This was a great first time watch. I mean, this is a great film in general, but we're talking about Al Pacino in Cruising. Also has an all-star cast in here. Al Pacino, Joe Spinell is in here. Ed O'Neill is in here. Paul Sorvino is in here. I forget the woman who plays his girlfriend. We'll talk about that. Directed by William Friedkin, of course. Based off a true story. There's an actual police officer that was involved in the cases that they're talking about in this film on here. Based off a true story. Can't wait to talk about this one. All in all, these are two great American Giallo-esque films. I mean, this is as close as you can get, basically, to Giallos. I mean, you can put Dressed to Kill into this one as well. I mean, but this is great stuff. What are your thoughts on these two films in general there, Darren?
I've always liked these two. Like, Cruising for me is one of the best films of that era. I know it's a controversial film, which we'll come into and all that. Eyes of Laura Mars does not get much love everywhere I see, actually, which kind of surprises me. And again, we'll come into that. But I mean, I think it's a decent film. I honestly don't see why people hated on this film. Although when it came out, it did do reasonably well. So, but we'll come into all the like little aspects of that. But no, these two I think go well together too. You know, it's got that kind of late 70s Giallo vibe. Almost Brian De Palma you could put into those list of directors you just gave as well, Chris.
Yeah.
You know, they all come from, you know, all doing similar things at the same time, you know, Dressed to Kill, Tenebrae. Yeah.
A lot of stuff specifically in this film. We'll get to some certain scenes that scream of a Giallo, like Blood and Black Lace. Tenebrae comes to mind a lot in this film with some of the scenes that they show, the way the camera angle is done.
Yeah.
It's a great film. And as for Cruising as well, great camera work there as well. Great film by the late, great William Friedkin. What a great director he was. A genre director. He directed everything. You just come up from an idea. His way in books is the same as kind of Stanley Kubrick's way books are. You know, you look at scripts and you're just like, yeah, we can definitely change this up. And there's controversy on this film. Obviously, this one was a hard one to make. What else is new with any freaking film and stuff like that too? I did recently review Sorcerer from 1977. I highly suggest anybody who hasn't seen that film watch that film. That film's way ahead of its time. This one's way ahead of its time. Freaking just had a way of bringing these films to the forefront. And what can you say? He was ahead of his time as a director. I like directors like this because him, Ridley Scott, just to Steven Spielberg's, all these people just kind of separate themselves from the pack. And this is definitely an American Giallo film in the more sleazier way. This was done in 1980. So, I mean, hey, we got one from 78. We got one from 80. You saw the shift in the 70s and you saw the shift in the 80s. So, I mean, this is more dirty than Eyes of Laura Mars is, but Eyes of Laura Mars still have that grittiness to them because, I mean, they both take place in New York too. What else can you kind of say? So it kind of works.
No, that's why they go well together. They got that late 70s New York feel. There's a lot in Eyes of Laura Mars as well. If you can pick up to, at the time of the film going ahead, it was like the disco scene in, you know, Saturday Night Fever.
It's a discotheque Giallo, definitely.
Yeah, you can definitely get that vibe.
Of course, the song in here is sung by Barbara Streisand. We're going to get to her and the other actresses that were in line to play the part of Laura Mars. Of course, that went to the great Faye Dunaway, Academy Award winning, beautiful Faye Dunaway, and Academy Award winning Tommy Lee Jones as well. Faye Dunaway was just really she was already established as a great actress to begin with. My goodness, you can look at her film career. It's just insane. Same thing with Tommy Lee Jones with that hairstyle of his. The guy who plays his detective buddy too. Last name's Adonis, the actor. I've seen him in other stuff as well. Like I say, Brad Dourif is in here with a beard, very young, playing the driver. We're all going to get to going to get to these awesome films. First off, we're going to get to some of the people that are in the chat. I want to bring Stacy in here from Acres of Movies. Great to see you there, Stacy. Hello, thanks, Stacy. Excited for the program. Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you very much. She's in like all my streams, like goes in the Gorephobes streams as well. So keeps up going on chat. Very cool. There tonight. What do you most look for in a slasher? So that's a good question. I'll let you go first there, Darren.
Right. I don't want to say the obvious because that would obviously be the kills. You know, you need to have decent kills. But for me, I kind of like the kind of stalk and slash where they go on these chases. It's not just all about the penetration with the knife. And although they're good to watch, you know, if you like, you can't like argue Friday the 13th, you could put on at any time. But I'm starting to go for like the more kind of tense sort of atmospheric ones, if I'm honest, the older I get. And like, you know, you've got the dark corridors and you got all those kind of chase sequences are great. So yeah, I would say that. I would say that. Me, like, what kind of, like I say, is just what with a slasher, what I look for in a slasher. It's a hider in the house element for me. It's the dread of not knowing who's there. It's where it's the man or the woman, you hear something and the score has a lot to do with it for me. Friday the 13th, of course, will come to mind because you know something's going to happen as soon as that music hits, as soon as that score hits. Something's there. The scene, like I say, the scene from the first Friday the 13th, she's outside in the rain and all this stuff too. All the lights go on. She goes, this isn't funny. This isn't funny at all. That's when it starts. I like that. I like the dread. I like the creeping of it. I like not knowing who the killer is, stuff like that too. The point of view shots are everything to me in a slasher. That's another thing. Yeah.
So
I mean, you've got to have yeah, you've got to have a good final kill, and you've got to have a good twist to the killer. That I think they're the main, you know, two as well.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, thanks for the question, Stacey. Yeah, it's great questions here. We'll keep an eye on them in the chat as well. She makes a good thing too with like paranormal slashers, like Extro and all that other stuff too. If you want to go for that, the Incubus comes to mind too. It's more of a paranormal demonic slasher. Way ahead of its time.
Yeah,
and we also have Ginger Ninja movie reviews. What is going on, Jason? Recently moved, so he's back and back and getting ready to do new content. Always good to see you in here. And then of course, Mr. Oates is in here as well.
Hey,
thank you very much for joining. We can officially start now. Like I say, Darren is from Subjective Perspective Collective. Catch him and Dirk, the two guys. They do great. That's a great channel. They do Giallo to a T. They do other stuff as well. They have great content coming up. I'll also put, of course, Dead Pit's channel in the info bar, and my man, the Rad King, Mr. Garrett from Born to Be Rad, in the info bar as well. Check out all their stuff. It's going to be great content. So we'll go again and get started here, Darren. Yeah. First up, I'll lead us off here real quick. Eyes of Laura Mars. So this is the Mill Creek release. Kino Lorber recently released this, I think, last year. It comes with a slip. I picked that up too. They may have more stuff on here. It just has commentary by Irvin Kirshner, which is pretty cool. So I've watched it with the commentary on and stuff like that. Him talking about it. Kirshner, very good director. Like I say, he's done other films, but he also did, of course, we all know him from The Empire Strikes Back, which is my all-time favorite Star Wars film. Done in 1979, I believe. So he did this before he did that one.
Well, this is the film that actually got him that gig.
Yeah, got him the gig.
George
that I did not know. Very good, Darren. Yeah, that's why I love you, man. That's why I have you here. Like I say, directed by Irvin Kirshner, done 1978. Story, screenplay and story by John Carpenter. So technically, this is John Carpenter's film. He did the story. He did the screenplay. Of course, me and Darren were talking about this. They butchered a lot of that stuff. Doesn't mean it's a terrible film. It's a great film. We're going to get to our rankings after we're done with this walkthrough of this film. Okay, it stars. We have a lot of Hall of Famers, basically. You have a lot of Walk of Famers here, in my opinion. You have Faye Dunaway as Laura Mars. You have Tommy Lee Jones as Detective John Neville. You have Brad Dourif as Tommy Ludlow. He's her driver. You have Renee Embargenois as Donald Phelps, and you have Raul Julia as Michael Ressler. The song Prisoner, sung by Barbara Streisand, who was originally going to play Laura Mars because she was with the producer of this film. So that has a lot to do with a lot of the shit that's going on in here. And filmed in Manhattan, New York. They mention Soho and stuff like that, and it does pretty good with New York in general like that. Budget $7 million, worldwide $20 million. Go ahead there, Darren. I'll let you take it from here.
Right. So we talked about John Carpenter. So he got the chance to do a major studio film with the screenplay play for this one. John Peters, the producer and studio. Obviously, they wanted Barbara Streisand because she was his girlfriend at the time. But Carpenter was paid $20,000. He was not happy with the way the film came out. He said the twist with the killer, which we're not going to give away too much of all that, but he said that wasn't in his original screenplay. So they literally got on board another veteran screenwriter, David Zelig Goodman, and he had like good pedigree because he's coming off Straw Dogs. He wrote for Sam Peckinpah.
Yeah, I need to check out Straw Dogs. Yeah.
Oh man, that's a great one. So he literally didn't, seem like Carpenter's kind of screenplay at the end of the day, although he did, he is credited and all that. But he just seems a bit grumpy to me, he always is. He's even worse nowadays. But yeah, like you say, this one's a solid one, I think. Direct, like acting wise and all that, you can't really, put like a bad performance in there. I think Faye Dunaway is like highly underrated as well in terms.
She plays a good part in here as well. Very beautiful lady.
Yeah.
Academy Award winner.
This role. She didn't do this type of role a lot, though, did she? I don't think she did many kind of thrillers. She did one called The Tempt in 1993. One kind of like slasher film called Silhouette in 1990. The Bye Bye Man I was looking at, she was in, which I haven't seen, but I can't remember her in that. And I bet she wishes she never done that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, the pedigree's there for this,
Faye was dating at the time, who later married bridge photographer Terry O'Neill.
Right.
Helped her a lot because she plays a photographer here and stuff like that. She a very controversial photographer. She photographs these women in these bad positions, like crime scenes, you can say. Very provocative at the time. It's based off of actual works of a person that used to do this and stuff like that as well. Like I say, for the role, just a quick thing for the roles of Laura Mars, of course, Barbara Streisand was one of the people that was going to play the role of Laura Mars, but because she knew the producer, let's make that perfectly clear. Partner at the time was producer John Peters, to your point there, Darren, and stuff like that. Here were the actresses, which is very interesting that we're going to that they were thinking of playing Laura Mars. Jane Fonda, who won the Academy Award for a film called Clute. Goldie Hawn.
So there's Can I quickly say something there? So Jane Fonda, when she was originally gonna do Clute, she had cold feet at one point, and the actress she put forward was Faye Dunaway for that role of Clute.
Very nice.
Sorry about that, but I just
no, absolutely no. That's good info there, Darren. Like I said, Jane Fonda. What can you say? Barbarella, my goodness. Goldie Hawn, which I could not see her playing a role like this. It just didn't. Of course, this was done in '78. She's very pretty. So that'd be very interesting for her. Diane Keaton was another one. That's very interesting to me. She's another great actress. So some interesting roles for this film, and it's very good. Like I say, it's a very good film and what have you. It's very Giallo-like. It's extremely Giallo-like with the beginning and the end of this film, because the way the beginning of this film goes, you hear the song playing and you see her eyes, and then it goes into that different type of camera mode and stuff like that too. And it lingers for a while, and then the credits start at the beginning, what the film's called, and all this other stuff as well. Darren, just your thoughts on this film, and then you can go ahead and start with this bad boy.
No, I've always liked this one. more than most, I think, as well. It's kind of it's a film that never really gets mentioned a lot. I like, you've got like that disco kind of backdrop as well of New York in the late 70s. The screenplay by Carpenter was originally just called Eyes.
Yes.
But when you say, so this has got so much influence with like the Giallo kind of subgenre. So that early part of the film, we see a photo of Laura Mars, which kind of turns black and gets more sinister.
Yeah.
But there's a big kind of Dario Argento deep red thing going on, I think, early on.
Oh,
because
that's a
every
good
time
point.
we see the killer, we see the eye.
Yeah.
And that's completely out of deep red. But you see in the first shot, even, you got the black glove killer cutting this image out of this book. And of course, you've got the Basic Instinct. Must have seen, Paul Verhoeven must have seen this film, because we got the.
That's where it kind of goes on to
all over
Tenebrae,
again.
because you have the book that she writes.
Yeah.
Right. Because that's where it starts out with. A model of hers is killed through, and it's kind of like a dream sequence, because she's asleep, and she states a little later that she's had this going on for a few months or something like that as well. But like I say, cuts the hole in the book, and that's straight from Tenebrae, in my opinion, with the tearing of the pages and all this other stuff too. Except it's through there.
Great,
so yeah, it's very good.
It's a great shot where you've got the ice pick going into the book, and it goes
a lot of
into
hate
Laura
there.
Moy's,
Yeah, there's a lot of hate there. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Is that the Indicator release?
Yeah, this is the Indicator.
Yeah, that's a nice release.
I was a bit disappointed because there's not that many extras on you. It's got the same commentary as yourself. It's a few interviews, but I was a bit disappointed. But yeah, so she wakes up from this dream in the middle of the night, and then she gets to realize that the woman she was seeing, or the woman that's been cut out of the book and actually got killed, is a woman called Doris Spencer. And she works with her, she's got her portrait in the book. Like you say, she's a New York City fashion photographer, specializing in all those I love those parts as well, where you've got all those models and they're lying on fucking cars, and cars going up in flames in the background.
When they start out that scene too, tossing the cars over, the makeup and all this other stuff too.
Off the wall, man.
She used actual models for this, of course she did. The film was used actual models that have done this before. Of course, that really helps. Of course, you are good actresses here. They just play that part like really well. Like I say, Blood and Black Lace, right? You have these models and stuff like that, literally, like it's like a school and stuff. They have these locations that they all go to. Some of the setups are very good.
It's a Giallo. This is like, I'll argue, I'll fucking die on a hill for that.
Yeah.
This is a straight up Giallo. But like you say, so after she's had this vision, right?
Does she call the phone? Does she call her? Doesn't she pick up the phone and call her? Or was that not until the other one?
I think that's the other one.
Okay.
So what happens is she pretty much she goes on to the next day, where she's got kind of this book launch. She's having this big party, and it's showing off all her work,
all her photos. Yeah,
that's where we see the Tommy Lee Jones character comes in.
That's where you see Brad Dourif, because he's the driver, and and it's like you deserve this, Laura, and stuff like that too. And all this other stuff.
And
I like his character. Yeah.
He's a big red herring for it. We're not.
He's a huge red herring in this thing.
Yeah, it's so much so that you think it's just too obvious. But obviously now she's at the party. She's with her, like, is he her agent? I think it is. He's a
Rene Bargeois is her
he's like
agent.
A very gay character.
Donald. Donald Phelps.
Yeah, great actor, great performance. They find out then that this Doris Spencer has been killed, and Tommy Lee Jones's character is at
the girls are like all together, or the women are all together, saying there's like a detective here looking into this, and they're like, oh my goodness, So like I say, it's late 70s, so you get this. It's very Giallo, to your point, like the expressions and everything like that. They're like, oh my goodness.
If you see a Giallo film called Nothing Underneath, and it's got the old-fashioned type thing going on, it's got kind of that vibe. but she's got the whole thing with her ex-husband as well. So her ex-husband is called Michael, and he's like a drunken. He
The
kind of,
author, played by the very late great Raul Julia. This is the second time seeing this film. I forgot that was him. What a great actor! If you haven't seen a film called Tequila Sunrise with what's his name? The dude from Lethal Weapon, Mel Gibson. Highly suggest you check that out. That's a good film. It's a fun one. But yeah, great actor. Addams Family. Before that, he's done other great roles. He's just a great actor.
Oh,
yeah,
right. I didn't even put him together with it, but he is, in the Addams
Family. He's at this woman's place, one of her employees' places and stuff like that. Without, you found out later, announced her knowing about it. And all this other stuff too. He's an author. He's a drunk. He's an author and stuff like that. Basically a piece of shit character. Bring that.
He's another big red herring, and there's there's probably 3 or 4 red herrings.
There's a few. You can almost say there's 2 different endings to this film, to tell you the truth.
And Carpenter was not happy, which we'll come on to. We won't give away the ending completely, but Carpenter he was really pissed at that ending because he didn't see the killer being who it was. He thought it was stupid, but we can let the viewers make up their own minds when they see the film. But you've got the whole kind of this photo shoot. I think it's in Columbus Circle, like you say. You see the cars and you see all that with kind of all on fire and all that. But then she gets this vision again while she's taking photographs, and this is where Carpenter again had a bit of a what Carpenter said, and it actually is true, is when she has a vision, she should maybe have gone blind but she still sees what she's seeing. How can you see 2 things at once? And he's got a great point. And
she does pause because, like I say, it's where kind of like this scene kind of comes up here. You see her the way she kind of turns and like kneels and stuff, taking the pictures, and then she gets the vision point of view shots, which are done very well, of her employee. I forget her name. I didn't put her name down, the actress that played her, but
I think the character's Elaine in it.
Going back up to her apartment, and you hear a dog barking, and you see the killer just come up there and stuff like that, and with an ice pick, to your point. And I think that's one kind of grabs her, like whatever, like that, and just goes like that, and she's like, and all this other stuff too.
Right.
It's kind of like so it's like a huge...
And of course, Laura sees this from 2 blocks away. She ends up, just kind of walking the street. She gets out of a taxi actually because of road traffic, and she comes by the scene of the crime where she tells the policeman,
I saw it. I saw it happen. That is done so well. Again, you have the Giallo element here, walking or driving, and they just do that scene for scene for scene, right? You literally see all of New York. You see the boroughs. You see that. You just see that stuff. Soho, like all that stuff over there. I like the grittiness of it. Yeah, she kind of goes a little bit crazy. Quick at the start of this film too. When John is like looking at John Neville is like looking at the pictures and stuff like that, he basically says how disgusting it is, with Laura there. Right. And it's like, do you know who made this? It's like, Laura Mars made it and stuff like that too. And the conversations between the 2 of them, you see that Barbara Streisand type idea with the producer. I don't think that would be there if there was another producer of that film. I don't think that relationship would be there. I'm just going to state that for the facts. I think it'd be a little bit more grittier wise. You know what I mean? Tommy Lee Jones is very good, but it's like a playfulness with him, like a little bit with this character. But that's just kind of how he is as an actor.
I love him. Like, I love it. His actual role in this, but
me too.
My only kind of like gripe would be there's not much sexual chemistry between the 2. I don't think
there really isn't. That's where the Giallo part comes in too. He kind of bring it back to that, but it's kind of true with Giallos, like earlier ones. Certain characters just like hook up just like that. It's like, hey, why not? So it kind of works in something like this. But I just didn't seem to be a little unnecessary, kind of just with that dynamic.
But like like you say, she comes across this crime scene then, and I think she gets literally like the police. She gets taken in by the police to let what do you know? Do you know any more? And Tommy Lee Jones' character actually shows pictures from her book, and they are identical to 2 murder scenes that's happened within the last 12 to 14 months. And there's no way she could have, seen.
Yeah, because they take her in, she's sitting in the police station, and he just happens to go there and just like reading this book or something like that. And he kind of shows her the book. It's like, is this yours? And stuff like that too. Then he puts the pen into the eye that was stabbed into there and all this other stuff too, and kind of like leading. It's like, yeah, like you say, comparing the photos and stuff like that, which is almost photo for photo with a lot of that stuff, which is pretty eerie in general.
That's where she mentions then that she's been having these visions for up to 2 years, which is
2 years. Yeah.
You've got Michael shows up then at Laura's place, and he's, like you say, just a down and out at this point. I know he's a writer, but he's drunk. She even gives him money to leave. She says, I don't really want you here, because what it is, the woman that's just been killed, he's been having an affair with, and now he's number one, probably prime suspect. So he's very on the run a little bit, doesn't he?
He's very like a parasite, like that time it clings to like one person and stuff like that. So she gave me my needs and stuff when you couldn't, and blah blah blah, and all this other stuff too. It's like, yeah, it's pretty sleazy. Yeah, she like goes over there to the later versions of what like a liquor glasses and stuff like looked at, pours herself a drink and stuff like that, and holds up. It looks like 100, doesn't look like 50, and just gives it to him and like get the hell out of here.
But then I touched on earlier, you got this fantastic kind of disco some on the soundtrack, which I love. But what's interesting about this now is where she's done a little bit of research, and she's worked out that this woman in 1900 France, the early in 1900s.
Yeah, she mentions that
psychic ability as well, having these visions. But it's not, I would have liked that. It's only touched upon. I would have liked that to come more into the story, where she could have researched out a little bit more and maybe put it into the storyline. But you've got this woman as well, died in an insane asylum as well, which she does mention. Donald, her assistant, he tells her not to worry. He's kind of really laid back. He's got the big fucking disco hair.
He got the disco hair. He dresses that way. He dresses that 70s way and stuff like that.
Yeah, he's brilliant. I think he's a great character.
He's quite funny. He does a scene with one of the officers, where it's like, can you do this interpretation? He's like, I can do this interpretation. So I kind of like those kind of like comedy aspects and that he kind of puts in there. It's pretty cool. It's pretty good. He's a great actor. Nate Barjois is a very good actor.
Oh yeah. And talking of great actors as well, Brad Dourif, he comes into the story a little bit more prominently as well. He's got like pretty much a bad criminal past, which Donald knows about, but didn't tell Laura. But like he says to Laura, I just want to be upfront with you. I want to tell you, I've done this, I've done that.
Yeah, an argument in the car.
Fine. Yeah,
they have an argument in the car and stuff like that. That's done pretty interesting.
But she's kind of laid back as well, Laura, which I like. She kind of, he carries on being a driver anyway, so she's fine with it in the end.
That's funny. They're like arguing in the car before they pick her up, and then they're just arguing there, and she basically tells him to shut up, and she basically tells him like, leave me alone, and he's like, oh, your passenger and your driver. Like,
yeah. But this is a scene now, right? And I don't know if Chris picks up on this, but this is what I get from it, right? So Laura, you see, she gets a vision of someone following her. It's a great fucking scene, right? Where she's running through this kind of abandoned warehouse, right?
Yeah.
So Chris, the Red Queen kills 7 times.
7 times.
The killer running down with the fucking.
I forgot about that. Yeah, the Red Queen.
That's what comes to mind there. Superb scene. I think one of the standout scenes.
Also in the Bloodstained Butterfly a little bit, I think. They're seen in these warehouses. Well, she gets dropped off there because that's where her other house is, where she does her like editing basically with her pictures and stuff like that.
It's kind of a little office she got in the middle of
Yeah,
kind
it's
of
pretty
nowhere.
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's when it happened, and she just goes off because it's right behind her. You know, the person's right behind her. Is that the point where she gets that? I think.
Yeah,
Or,
yeah, yeah, definitely. Makes it more eerie, I think. Just those point of view shots, almost got like Vaseline on the camera where we see it as a vision. And I know Carpenter wasn't a big fan of that either, but
It's
needless
a
to
lot of
say,
there's a lot of WTF type of moments because you think the killer's there, like right next to her. She runs down and then just shows that great scene of her just running through this warehouse up to Donald's
yeah.
character. Like, what's going on? What is it? What is it? Yeah.
But like you say, we see the killer nearby all the time.
Yes.
And once you know and watch the film and go back and watch it a second time, that will make sense.
Yeah.
So Donald now, like assistant or agent or what have
I'll
you.
say this. I'll say this real quick. Watching this the first time and watching it for the second time, because we know who the killer is. Watching this the second time, I'm like, just picturing where the killer would be at. To your point, that's what makes this film very good, in my opinion. As a giallo, it makes you think about it. Yeah, makes you think about it. I like that when it makes you think about it.
It completely makes sense as well. But again, I was reading Choi Howard's book earlier, and he kind of said the whole reveal of the killer was obvious. I didn't get that first time. I was genuinely shocked first time. But like you say,
I was too, specifically of the twist, which we won't mention because there is a twist here, which came out of nowhere.
Right.
Where
yeah.
The killer mentions something. And you know the killer is lying about it, or you don't know until you do know. So, that's all I can kind of say without spoiling it.
Exactly. The killer kind of slips up on a certain
thing. Really slips up. And you're like, whoa, wait a minute.
And then gives away the identity. So Donald, like, he's convincing her now. She's really freaked out by these visions. She wants to stop working. But he's like, come on, you've got to carry on with these photo shoots. And he's just happy-go-lucky. They end up doing this other photo shoot, and so you've got Brad Dourif's character, and he's kind of got a little kind of crush on one of the models. He gives this flower to.
Yeah, Tommy. He gives to one of the prettier
Lulu,
ones,
I think her name
the
is,
short hair ones. Yeah, gives her. She's like, oh, look, a pretty flower and all this other stuff too, because he's delivering some bouquets, and Donald tells him, put those in water and stay here, basically. Stay in the vicinity. Need to talk to you about something. Or he just wants him there because they've interviewed everybody. Like when the second murder happens, that's when they have everybody like in the police station.
Yeah.
It's like Blood and Black Lace, dude. It's like everybody's there. So anybody could be the killer. Everybody's there interviewing everybody. They interview Donald. They interview Tommy. They interview these people and stuff like that too. And he's like calls it a pigsty like twice, and all this other stuff. Yeah.
How do you feel about the dwarf character? Because I think they kind of brought that in as kind of comedy relief, which does not go well in this.
A little bit like at the party. He just happens to lean over and Laura holds his hand and stuff like that too. There's another scene where he's at. We're going to get to that. But he just happens to kind of be there. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's kind of a Dario Argento nod because
it has to be. That has to be. Yeah, that has to be. Like I said, I think Dario watched this film because I think stuff from here comes from Tenebrae. That's just me. Like the whole Laura Mars book type idea, because she wrote a book with her photos in there. Yeah, that goes to a point in that film.
Oh no! What I love about there's a disco song that plays. I think it's called "Let's All Chant."
Yes,
it's like your body. I love that song.
Yeah, I
had to look it up. And I had to try and bring it up on YouTube or something. Just gives it that whole Saturday Night Fever kind of feel, that's one of my favorite films.
When she's taking pictures, when she's taking pictures, it's like at a pool in here, and this one male model is there and stuff like that. And he goes, he's like, okay, I want you to play dead and stuff like that. And he's like, for whatever, an hour? Yeah, of course.
So what about Lamberto Bava's Delirium? Have you seen that one, Chris?
I haven't seen Delirium. Photo of Gloria. I haven't yet. Joria. Yeah.
So you've got a photographer there. You've got the eye point of view of the killer in that film as well. Lambert or Bav has seen this one as well. Like, that's what I'm trying to say.
There's a cool scene where I like how she sets up the photo shoots, right? It's like, it's very morbid because she does crime scenes, right? That's what her character is most known for, being provocative. And they say at the start of this film too, where artists is starting to die off. So it's all about pictures now. And it's stuff like that too. That's a straight homage to Italian cinema, because Italian cinema, was very stylish and stuff like that too. This is very stylish with the pictures, where it's going towards pictures of these models, of these beautiful ladies and dudes and stuff like that, doing that. And just when she reenacts that scene and stuff like that, okay, you're laying in the pool, like here, they put the fake blood on them, which is done very well. You see the model, the pretty one, well, they're all pretty, with the gun like over that, like that, okay, sit like that and stuff like that. That's when she gets like a vision and stuff stops, like of something going on.
But then we get, so you've got the two models. She realizes all these people who are getting killed are close to her. You've got the scene then with Lulu and Michelle, the two models.
Yeah, they're in the
getting
apartment.
stalked in their apartment, which is great.
Yeah, the killer comes up. The killer comes up to the door, and they know who the killer is. She does.
Yeah.
So automatically goes in there. I think that's the one where it covers like half of her face or something like that.
It does, yeah.
Yeah, and stabs her in the eye. Then goes to the other one because she's giving her a massage. I see that.
I think they're supposed to be lesbians, but it's not said.
Yeah, voyeurism in here.
Yeah.
Done very well. And then, that's very true, Darren. I can see that.
It's very De Palma Dressed to Kill, like that scene for me.
Oh, and just seeing that, because she's seeing this happen. That's when she's at Donald's birthday party. Tommy's there, drops him off and stuff like that too. He has playing cards on him, and Donald tells him, okay, you gotta just wait out here, just go do something and stuff like that. And he's out there for a bit, then he leaves. And then Laura's trying to have a good time. I'm not skipping anything, am I?
I think at this point there is a romantic involvement as well between.
Yeah,
Laura.
go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead there, Dan.
So, just before that scene, you've got the kind of like you can tell it's turned into like romance between Laura and John.
That's right. Because it's like she sees the two women getting murdered, and it's a great scene, straight out of Tenebrae, in my opinion, because you have the dead one there in the hallway, and then it pans to the other one on the bed that she was laying in, dead like that. And she's kind of hunched over. The way she's hunched over, that straight up prepping bodies. It takes me to the scene to Tenebrae with the woman in the two lesbian lovers with that, the one in the glass and the one that's down those stairs. That's what screams Tenebrae to me.
No, it has to be. There's too many like similarities for that not to be the case.
Yeah, that really hits the sweet spot in my opinion.
Ripped off that scene, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure.
Yeah, that's when they go to that's when Jones's character, John, goes to the funeral that's in this nice, beautiful place and stuff like that, where the ashes are at and all this other stuff too. Kind of think Phantasm a little bit with that area, mausoleum. And
yeah. That's where we see the dwarf again, don't we, as well?
Yeah, he's all there. Everybody's there and stuff like that. And you have one guy raking the leaves. when they're all leaving, you have one dude raking the leaves in the lawn with all those leaves, all those dead leaves and all that shit. Yeah.
But yeah, like you say, you've got Michael actually, I think at the birthday party, funny enough, just a little bit before, he phones Laura up and he's like saying he's going to kill himself and she needs to get away. And
that's when he's all like at the party and stuff like that too. It's like, he's like, meet me here and stuff like that and all this. That's when it gets.
Donald then dresses up as Laura to try and divert the
right, because the cops are keeping an eye on everybody to make sure like maybe the killer is there. He dresses up as her. They go the other direction. She has, I forget the car that she uses and stuff like that too, but she has, it's like a Ferrero. It's Fiero, I believe it's called. It's a little dinky car.
Right. Yeah.
One of my stepfather's best friends had one of those. They're trippy cars, and they the detective's partner finds him and stuff like that too, and turns him around, and it's really kind of funny and stuff like that. I think he hits him and all this other stuff too.
While she's driving then to see Michael, she gets a vision then of Donald being
going back up to his room.
Yeah, which is a great scene as well.
Just turns around. That causes her to go. I mean, she's scraping against cars and all this stuff too, and just slams into this warehouse. I was like, man,
she kind of crashes the car, and she and then at this point, then I think that she's put on tablets by a doctor. John's trying to get her to take a medication. The police believe that they got like a break on the case as well, so.
That's funny because
he photos, don't they?
He takes her home to the villa that they're kind of in.
Yeah.
Well, first off, they have this scene after the funeral, like in this leafy area and stuff like this. And this is straight up Tommy Lee Jones, and this is straight up her and stuff like that, where it's like, I have a killer to catch and all this other stuff too. That's when they all do their business together. He gets her some medication and stuff like that, and he goes, "Let's get loaded," and stuff like that too. And he kind of smirks about it, because he puts that stuff in her drink and stuff like that. He goes, "Here, drink it," and all this other stuff too. That's when, like you say, his partner shows up.
Yeah, maybe. Well, we'll touch upon that. But in terms of, so the police figure out now that they've got a break on the case. They found all these like models' pictures in pretty much Brad Dwarf's like apartment.
Tommy's apartment building and stuff like that too. Not knowing he talks about his history, like he was in prison for a little bit for like theft and battery, I think it is, and stuff like that too. And he says, "I've changed and stuff like that thanks to you, Laura. I appreciate you giving me the job," and all this other stuff too. He's a really good character. Yeah, they're waiting.
Man, he's brilliant.
They're waiting in his house. Yeah, you see all the picture of all the models and stuff like that. Well, the one that he liked, you know what I mean? The one that he actually liked, he just had a hard time, just introducing himself to her. And I think he found out, or what the cops think they found out, is that she was, lovers with the other model woman and stuff like that. Maybe it was like a jealousy thing. That was my interpretation when I saw that. I'm like going,
right.
That's a good, like I say, there's maybe possibly you can have two different endings for this film, like say to a Carpenter's Detriment, like he's like going, it's like, and I know he watched Giallo in the past, so I'm like, he'd have to see they kind of swerve you a little bit.
There's no denying
what's going on here. Yeah.
There's no denying that, Jen. So, but what they find with the killing of Donald now, he's killed in the lift at the hotel or wherever it is, and they find a playing card to what Tommy, one of his
playing cards that he had. Yes,
and then that's kind of a clue as to like who the killer is to me.
Well, that's what he says, because Tommy calls him. He says, "I'll meet with you. I just want to talk. Just want to talk. Okay, I'll let everybody out of there. I'll come up there. We can talk." Okay, he tells everybody to leave except for his partner, who's up on the other part of the stairs, which Tommy doesn't see before he goes in there. They go in there. They have this very interesting conversation of like, well, the thing is, like, is there anything it's a very interesting conversation. Tommy Lee Jones plays a cop very well. He always has. And he goes just like, "Do you misremember something? Because did you forget this?" Because he kind of mixes up his words where he's all like,
he stutters a little bit, doesn't he? Because
he does stutter a little bit where he's all, "Well, I went to the basement part," or something like that too. Then I realized like this, he's very sketchy. I mean, Tommy's very sketchy with what he's talking about with him. It's just like a good back and forth between the two characters. Like, what the hell's going on here? He realizes and stuff like that. His partner comes in, everything okay and stuff like that. And he's like, "Yeah, we're going to take him to the station and stuff like that. We have more questions for him and stuff like that." He's not having it. He pulls out his switchblade that he has, right? Which they're thinking, well, that's a nice thing, switchblade that you have, because it looks like the type of killing weapon that'd be used to gouge out the eyes and kill the victims.
Yeah.
As he's running and stuff like that down the stairs, he stabs one of the police officers, which makes it even worse. And the partner tries shooting him and stuff like that. And flipping John's all like, no, what are you doing? And all this other stuff too. What are you doing? Right.
Yeah.
Which makes
The
it even more
reason for
interesting.
that is crazy as well. So they pretty much say to him, you're going to put him in a psych ward because he's like mentally unstable. And he said, I'd rather be in the prison than a psych ward. And then he just goes running, and which is kind of hard. It's a hard part of the plot to believe that he would do that, but he does.
It's a very good chase scene between the two.
It is, yeah.
They go through New York. It looks like he loses them and stuff like that. And they go through these places. He gets to this corridor type of a place and stuff like that, tries to get through her and stuff like that. That's when the partner shoots and kills him. And he goes, go see an officer. He tells him that. He goes, go see an officer. It's like, just do it.
And John is pissed at this point because of that. And then that's what I mean. It's such a great way to portray that character too. Because it shows that John, he's got feelings. He's not as tough, one of these big tough cops like all the others who can just kill for fun. And again, maybe that, I'm not going to say what happens towards the end, but that can kind of push you one way or two ways, depending on how you're watching the film for the first time. But great scene. John tells Laura then that he pretty much loves her. Go back.
Yeah, because he has a walkie. Yeah, she has a walkie on him. One of the police walkies on her. Where it gets muffled at first and says like, "I love you," like, pack up your stuff. I'm gonna take you out of here and stuff like that. I'm gonna take you away, basically. And then you see he's going over there, to get the stuff. You see him all of a sudden, he's all dressed, he's back in this suit and all this other stuff too. He pulls up, he goes into his he goes up into the apartment, he goes to the elevator, he goes to an elevator, the elevator opens, and it happens to be Raul Julia's character as Michael happens to be there.
Yeah.
And then there's a scene where Laura gets this vision of a death. Now you don't know who's killed. You have no idea. And then this freak out scene where the killer's at the door.
Yeah.
And it's done very well. She locks it. She's terrified. And then her side window here, which is it's like a high-rise apartment. The window just gets shattered. And a lot of stuff comes to light in this film. I'm going to leave it at that. The ending in general, if you're watching this for the first time, it takes you for a loop a little bit. I like it a lot. What's your thoughts kind of here to the conclusion of this film, Darren?
I think it's done really well. I'm surprised that people kind of didn't like the ending to this. In terms of, so all I say, won't give away the killer. All I say is that once Tommy is killed, they try to make out that he's the killer at this point. And,
yes.
Laura kind of thinks that's case closed, which is not. But then that whole twist is done towards the or at the end, which I like. And it's got your whole slasher, Giallo type twist. It's logical, like we said earlier, and all that. I think the film plays really well.
It plays very much to your point, like a Brian De Palma film, specifically with the music. It does play very much like a Brian De Palma film.
This would go well with Dress to Kill.
This would go great with Dress to Kill. There are certain films that kind of equal with that.
You can't,
like I say, good kill. Yeah.
1970s, late 1970s New York vibe. You think of New York Ripper as well, which will come into Cruising. I think got a lot
to do with that. Yes, absolutely. Ripper. Yeah, the Times Square killer.
It's Maniac, 1980 Maniac.
Yeah, 1980. Yeah, absolutely.
But so how would you rate this one? Or if you got any other thoughts on it?
Just other thoughts. The kills are very stylish. I like that. I like I like the way they're posed. I like the idea of her seeing visions of the killer. It's telekinesis. It's done like a paranormal slasher a little bit.
Right, but it's all done. She sees it all in real time.
Yeah, by the killer's eyes, which makes this ending even more interesting.
It's unique because if you look at Full Cheese's Psychic, that's done with like looking into the future or looking into the past or what have you. This is all done at the same time, which is I find I can't remember another one like this.
I don't. I think this film's a one of a kind. Like I say, the tension is really good. The acting, of course, is very good. I mean, the filming locations, the camera work, everything is done very well for this. I give this off the bat a 7.5 out of 10. That's kind of I gave it like 4 out of 5 stars and a heart on Letterboxd. But yeah, 7.5 out of 10, definitely. It's a solid film. Yeah, solid American Giallo film. And that's a rarity. So, but it just came at that time this was done a year before I was born. The 70s coming to a close, and you get these films that just come out of nowhere. And like you say, got Kirshner, the director's job for Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back. He's done other films, of course, like that. John Carpenter, like I say, did this before Halloween, which is a trip to me, which is very interesting to me. And but yeah, it's a very good film. I like it a lot. Yeah, 7.5 out of 10, definitely.
I'm exactly the same, 7.5. I do want to mention, I don't know, have you ever seen a Brian De Palma film called The Fury, which was done?
I have not seen The Fury. That's with Kirk Douglas or Michael Douglas or one of the Douglas.
I think it's one of them. Yeah,
the dad basically. Yeah,
you've got the girl, the one
Michael.
girl.
Yeah, Michael Douglas. Yeah,
from Carrie is in it. I've heard that maybe kind of might have similar aspects to this.
Yeah, The Fury's like it's like his son's a psychic and stuff, and these people are after him. Almost think Scanners before Scanners, like a little bit, but different in the Brian De Palma mode of doing stuff like that. Yeah, definitely. Okay, definitely.
But no, I'll definitely want to check this one out. If you're a Giallo fan, slasher fan, even suspense and all that.
Yeah, this is very good. I highly recommend it. Like I say, this was the release from Mill Creek. I've had this for quite a few years. It's a good Blu-ray and stuff like that. Kino Lorber recently released this last year.
You can get it.
Wait for a sale, get it with the slip. Why not? Yeah. So
yeah, this is like £9. I think I paid for this in the sale.
Yeah. So it's, like I say, pretty dang good. Definitely recommend it for American Giallo.
Oh yeah, it's a thumbs up.
Jelly stream. Just want to say, my man, Mr. Gorphobe Keith is in the chat. Thank you, my friend. Yeah, you have a good night too, my friend. Thank you very much for stopping by. Always welcome here. Definitely check out his content as well. We have Jamie Hart in here. Always good to see you, Jamie. I'm glad you're feeling better and stuff like that. So very cool to see you in here. Always cool. Yeah. Thanks for just like very, very good. Very good stuff. So really appreciate it.
I know I said on the last stream with me and Dirk, but get well soon, Jamie. Everyone's kind of rooting for her.
Yeah, absolutely. So, so that's so like I said, this is a very good one. Definitely check that out. It's very good. We're gonna keep the train rolling here. You have a lot to say about this one film, Darren, and I'm very interested to hear your thoughts on that. And this is 19. Excuse me, I said 1980. It's 1981's Cruising.
I think it's 1980.
Yeah, 1980 came out in 81 wise, but
I think it was filmed in 79 and came out in 80.
Yeah, a lot of films kind of do that, definitely. Okay, here we go. So directed by William Friedkin, the late great William Friedkin, stars Al Pacino as Steve Burns, Paul Sorvino as Captain Edelson, Karen Allen as Nancy, Richard Cox as Stuart Richardson, Joe Spinell, the late great Joe Spinell, as Patrolman DeSimone, Alan Miller as Chief of Detectives. I recognize Alan Miller. He's been in some other stuff too. Powers Booth has a quick cameo in here. Ed O'Neill from Married with Children is in here. Yeah. Mike Starr as Patrolman Dessner. Randy Jurgensen as Detective Lafransky. Randy Jurgensen is an actual detective who was on the actual case that this film is based off of. This film has great, this release from Arrow has great special features. It's flipping loaded. What else is new? Loaded.
He was
with
on the
content.
original case, and he actually worked on the French Connection with Friedkin, and he would often tell Friedkin stories about how they were trying to, you know, he would go undercover trying to catch this gay killer back in the early 70s. So
real quick info. Yeah, real quick info on this film. Friedkin was banned by 2 gay bars in this film, or as he calls them, leather bars. They said you don't even think about coming in here. Richard Gere was originally going to. I think he was asked to play the role as Steve Burns, which is very interesting to me at this time, from Officer and a Gentleman.
But he wasn't a big star at the time, and then when Al Pacino came and was interested in the project, that's when they went with him.
The film is based off of a book that was written about basically these gay murders that were happening in New York between 1962 and 1979. So, yeah, at the end of the 60s into the 70s, New York was a hub of just not good kind of stuff. You didn't go out at night. What can I say about this film? It's very good. Basically, Al Pacino stars as Steve Barnes, who asks to go undercover into this gay community, to go into these leather bars and find out who's killing these gay men. Each one of these victims are regular people. They're regular people. Like, one's like an artist, the other one's like in some type of business and stuff like that. They lead ordinary lives, and there's these murders that are going on, and it's gritty. Think Maniac a little bit. Joe Spinell's come on Maniac. Now. Yeah, just think Maniac a little bit. It's gritty. The score is very good. I really like this film. I know this film is very, very divisive. It has heavy giallo elements in here, slasher elements as well. I mean, those two go hand in hand.
Do you know the opening scene in New York Ripper where we see the body part with the dog?
Yeah,
that's exactly taken from this film.
With that, real quick, give us your thoughts on this film, and then you can get us started there, Darren.
Man, I've always liked this one. This is like high up for me. I know it's not going to be for everyone because some of the material is a little bit shocking, and it was a lot worse apparently before it was cut.
Yeah,
just going into like the story. So, William Friedkin, right? He come on board. He wanted to do something because he'd heard about all these gay killings in New York City, and the name come up that they thought it was a guy called Paul Bateson. So Friedkin was like, "Where do I know that guy from?" And then he realized that he had worked on The Exorcist in the hospital.
Exorcist with them, yeah, the hospital scene with them, yeah. The extras on the disc go through that scene and stuff where he actually went there to talk to him about kind of how this film was going to go and stuff like that. It's crazy.
So he went up to Rikers Island, the big, prison in New York, and he literally, this guy Paul Bateson said he can remember killing the last one, which was a Variety critic, but he can't remember. He said he just can't remember killing the other men. He didn't deny it. Friedkin knew he was the killer, but yeah, and then he detailed in himself having sex with Addison Verrell, which was the Variety critic. And he's whacked him on the head with some kind of metal frying pan. That's why he killed him. Well, that's how he killed him, I should say. Friedkin then went on to mention, like fairly lately on as well, that they offered him a deal. So they said, the police said to this Paul Bateson, if you agree to all these gay serial killings, we will give you 8 years. You'll get it in 8 years.
Jesus Christ.
He ended up coming out in 2004. Not a lot is known about him. I think he died in 2012. So he obviously didn't go back to doing that. He kind of kept his head low and what have you. But no, so Friedkin, yeah. So he was like Wayne Trubb was the producer of this, right? And he got freaking interested into the, because of all this was going on with the serial killer and the exorcist. So what he would do is he would get freaking, we would go undercover in these kind of, there's one called the Mine Shaft, the Ramrod, these S&M gay bars. Fucking real. Everything's real.
Everything is real. They're actual bars. They're actual bars. These are actual gay men in these.
There's scenes where we don't quite see it, but there's a fisting scene. There's gay kind of, acts going on all around.
He goes to it's like a police officer's night and stuff like that, and everyone's dressed up like a police officer and stuff like that, and he's kicked out. Al Pacino's character is kicked out because you're not dressed for the part. Like, if you're not here to do this, then we don't want you here. So it's very exclusive. It's almost like a fraternity of, like, in which I get that. I understand. It takes you to a whole different world. I know you've heard that before. That's what the object of the film is, right? It takes you to a place you've probably never seen before. It's there. People don't want to admit that it's there, but it's there. And, it's prevalent. It's prevalent.
And there was, like, literally, this was a few years away from being another really big gay killer at the time, and that was AIDS, in the middle 80s.
Yeah.
Just before we start going through the film, I just want to show this off. So I got the new Arrow 4K. That's the slip. Let me show you.
That looks gorgeous.
It's really cool, right? So
yeah, that looks gorgeous.
I just want to show you this quickly.
Like, that's all in black, too.
You've got the poster. I won't get it completely out, but you can see where.
Yeah, the original poster of that. Yeah.
You've got this really thick book. I mean, look at this. What Arrow does. The pictures are great.
Oh, hell yeah.
Lots of essays and stuff on the film. So I just wanted to show that, because I think if you're thinking about getting this film, because I have got the original copy that Chris got as well there.
Yeah, but you have it with the slip. Yeah.
Well, that slip's redundant.
Very good, very good.
Funny enough. Yeah. But that was 35, the new edition. I would highly recommend that. But yeah, going into the film, like you say, you've run down a lot of the characters. You've got Paul Sorvino, he plays Captain Edelson. Brilliant actor. I think he's brilliant in that role. He's kind of got like a limp, haven't he, throughout the film? I think that was real as well. Karen Allen, she plays Nancy. Brilliant as his girlfriend, as Al Pacino, obviously Steve Burns. You've got Richard Cox. He plays Stuart Richards, another great. But I think I can't say one bad performance in this film.
I can't either. No, everything's pretty. Of course, these are all actors up and coming too. Al Pacino, of course, from the 70s. I mean, God, Dog Day Afternoon, The Godfather. Like, you have these roles, and then freaking asks, "Hey, I think this is his only William Freakin film too." So asks him.
Well, yeah, they were at loggerheads throughout filming, because Al Pacino was really uncomfortable because there was a lot of controversy. So what would happen daily? You would get all these gay people coming to the shoot, and they're picketing and protesting.
Yeah, they're picketing.
And
yes,
all that.
yes,
But they would have these horns, and they would have these.
Yeah,
whistles.
the noise would have to get drowned out and stuff. And they did a lot of scenes during the day, in certain park areas and shit like that. Yeah, you'd get a lot of that.
Early on where Pacino's in the cafe and he's with Don Scardino, who plays Ted. He's kind of, he lives next door.
In the apartment complex.
Pacino feared for his life in that scene. He said, what you don't see in that scene is outside, there was people baying for his blood. He had to be, the two of them had to be kind of forced into this car, and drove off to where they, in safety. He literally said he feared for his life. And another big thing about this role as well was Freakin had said for years that Pacino was shit in this role. He was terrible. He didn't know what the material meant.
He was always open about his comments. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But he went back on that literally 10 years ago, maybe, when the DVD maybe first came out. And he actually said, I got that wrong. He said, Pacino's superb. He said, I completely fucking take everything I said back about him being bad in that role. So whether over time he'd obviously get to see what we're seeing, like
as you get older, stuff starts to change. He was around when Arrow released this on Blu-ray for the first time, so he was around then, and he probably rewatched it, and he's probably like, "Oh damn, yeah, this is pretty good. Yeah, I did a pretty good job here."
It is fucking scarily good when he's in that dance scene. We'll come on to all the scenes when he does that.
It's a very gritty. It's a very gritty film. I like that. It's dirty. Like Maniac, like these films of this time coming out, it's very dirty. Like I say, this is the start of the 80s where you start to see, I call them character pieces, where it's a slasher, but it's a character piece because it goes through the mind of the killer, follows the killer around, or so you think. And you have this grittiness about it. You have this dirtiness about it. You have this dread about it. The night scenes are done very well here. The dialogue is done very well. It's very haunting. We're going to get to that
real.
too.
All that shit is real, like those nightclub scenes. To try and get you, if you've not seen this, to give you a type of feel about it. Think of Fulci's New York Ripper. You think about playing these two films back to back, and you'll want to fucking shower for the next 24 hours. Like it's So, like you say, I've never seen a film that completely fucking nails the subject material as in this. I mean, freaking leaves nothing, nothing to the imagination, no stone unturned in terms of all the details. And he had friends in high places. So a lot of these gay owners of these bars, pretty much they would not let anyone else in, but they let Freakin in with his cameras, which tells you, the kind of like, it's kind of relationship.
He's from New York, isn't he? Because he has that way of talking and stuff like that, where it could probably get him into places in New York.
Yeah. Very well, obviously very respected at the time with all the films that he'd done. But yeah, if you want, go through the film, so the opening, this arm shows up in the Hudson River, this kind of body part. You've got Joe Spinelli plays this corrupt, like police patrolman.
Oh, he's a piece of shit. He looks, it's him. Patrolman DeSimone with his partner. And they're going through, they're patrolling the neighborhood. And basically Spinell's talking about, I used to play stickball out here. Like, look what it's become. It's dirty, filled with this stuff. That's when they pull over to gay men prostitutes, basically.
Transvestites, one being Gene Davis who was fucking brilliant in 10 to Midnight. If you get a chance, if you haven't seen that film, that's another
Charles Bronson.
Go out and see that if you've not seen it. But no, they play these. He plays this transvestite, very realistic looking. Spinell does this grimy thing as he gets these transvestites to blow them off pretty much in the front of the patrol car. That's based off the true story, because this takes place. It's based off of murders that happened between 1969 and the late 1970s. That's real testament. That's
a real testament, because to talk to Detective Jurgensen, who is in here playing who's playing a cop in here, talking about that in the extras about these. They're posing as in the original story. They're posing as police officers. Because gay men like to dress up as cops. They do. You got the handcuffs. It's very pseudo-sexual type stuff here. And like you say, it's very grimy. Like his partner says, suck on my gun and stuff like that too, or suck on my piece, and all this other stuff too. He goes, get in front here. It's like, get in front here. It's intimidation. It's very seedy. Very good stuff from Spinell. What a great actor. He was well known at the time. Very good friends with Sylvester Stallone. Like, what else can you say about him? A big man too, but you'll see him later, which is very interesting here.
Yeah, he pops up later, but he went on obviously to do Maniac the following year, which is his film, to be honest.
That is his film.
Yeah. But we literally see the first time we see the killer early on. This guy picks up this one dude in this S&M gay bar. He takes him to this hotel for sex.
He's wearing like not aviation sunglasses and a patrolman's hat, or kind of think what Rob Halford would wear. in Judas
Yeah,
Priest.
yeah,
That's what
yeah.
that reminds me a lot. Like you say, you have the leather, you have the spikes, you have this shit, lipsticks and leather, you have this and stuff like that. And the voice is very haunting too. Yeah, where he
and that worked out as well, apparently. So because of the dubbing for this film with all the protesters, they had to redub it later on. And Freaking said that actually works for the film.
that works a lot better. Yeah.
Because the killer, and again, we're not going to spoil everything in this, but I'm trying to word it where I can't, give it away. But let's just say there could be more than one killer.
Yeah, it could be more. It's not who you think it is.
It's
Specifically
open
the
to
ending, it makes you
interpretation.
think about it. Yeah, we'll get to that, but it makes you think about it. To me, it's a descent into madness a little bit. Like when you go undercover, like deep cover with Lawrence Fishburne, how far are you willing to go? How far are you willing to change what you are? Are you willing to do that? We'll get to that point too, where he gets asked to do that.
Freaking throws in a few curveballs as the killer, because this first scene with the killer, he goes, "Who's here? I'm here, you're here," and kind of this like nursery rhyme type fashion, which is what the killer does. And he stabs this guy in the back, and he says something like, "You made."
Well, he has a conversation and stuff like that. He's like, "Are you scared of me?" Like, because he gives him a BJ. The dude gives him a BJ. Yeah. And he's all like in his getup and stuff like that. A ripped dude and stuff like that as well. They end up sleeping together. He's getting ready to leave. Something catches him for when he says and stuff like that. He goes, "Are you scared of me?" Stuff like that too.
And it's very like sinister.
Yeah, he comes up to him like this and starts holding him like that, and he goes, "Go on your stomach." He's like, "Go on your stomach." Goes on top of him, switchblade, and stabs him multiple times. Like straight up hate too. Straight up hate.
Oh yeah.
You know it's coming. There's dread here. You know it's coming. Yeah, and kills him. It's brutal.
He says, "You made me do that as well."
Yeah, you made me do it. You made me do it. You made me do it.
Yeah.
You made me do this.
The only kind of, all the pieces got to go on really is, so they find this guy's sperm, but he's firing blanks. So, he's kind of, they don't know he's maybe got a medical condition of some kind.
He's smart about it. The killer's smart about it.
But it does all seem to trace back to the first killing of the body parts in the Hudson River. They think it's the same.
Who they can identify. That's a good scene where it's like, can you identify it? We need like all this other stuff too, because Sorvino's character wants to do something about this. He plays such a good role in here. He's trying to get this done. That's when one of the male prostitutes is in there, tells him about these two cops that pulled them over and asked them to have sex with them and give them BJs and all this other stuff too. And he's like, "You know their names and stuff like that?" He goes, "No, I don't know their names," and stuff like that too, because he doesn't believe him.
I think he gives him the one name, doesn't he? Dis Simone.
Dis Simone. He gives him Dis Simone and stuff like that because he doesn't know him. He's like, he's not from which makes it very interesting towards the end of this film, which makes it extremely interesting.
There's a scene, the light bulb moment towards the end.
His partner, I forget the actor because I put it. Mike Starr, who I recognize. He's done some other films too. He plays he's Dis Simone's partner in this and stuff like that. You see him like a couple more times in here, but you see Dis Simone, Joseph Spinell's character in here a little bit more, which is kind of like a red herring to your point. He's a red herring in this film, which I find very interesting. I know they what Freaking couldn't understand is why people call this an anti-gay film. And he's right, it's not an anti-gay film. If anything, it's a pro-gay film, I think. It's pro-gay film. It's a warning. It's a warning. Yeah.
Yeah, the Joe Spinell character, like every fucking person in this is portrayed, I think, badly anyway.
Yeah.
I if anything, I think the gay people are not portrayed as bad as the normal. I think that was the point he's trying to do, Freaking. But this is where Steve Burns comes first into it. He's asked, he's told to go into Captain Ellison's office, and there's all these pictures of all these dead, body parts, and males has gone missing. And he asks him, doesn't he, to go pretty much undercover.
He asks him to that. He's like, "Have you ever never done this before?" and stuff like that too, because he straight up asks him.
He says, "Have you ever sucked a man's cock?"
And he's like,
No,
No,
you know.
no. You have a girlfriend. Yeah.
Yeah, which is a weird scene, I know, but that's how it went down apparently. But no, he agrees, he wants some kind, he's given like if you pull this off, you're gonna be, promoted and all that. But he has to go super undercover to do it. He can't even tell his girlfriend, Nancy, I think it is.
Yeah,
Can't
Nancy.
even tell her, Karen Allen.
Yeah, Karen Allen. What other films was she in? She almost looks a little bit like Margot Kidder, but like
I always get her mixed up with one of the one girl in the Dead Zone. I always get them mixed up. The only one I've got.
When I tell you the truth, she looks like she was in Friday the 13th. She kind of looks like that woman from the first film with Kevin Bacon, but I don't think that's her. But
no.
Point, yeah.
The only one I've got it down is Ghost in the Machine, 1993, is kind of a horror film.
Yeah.
But she's got a very similar look to different actresses. There's 2 or 3 that look the same.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he goes undercover, but obviously got to call himself John Forbes. He moves into this apartment. He strikes up a friendship with Ted, who's played by Don Scardino, another fantastic actor. He Knows You're Alone. I love his character in that.
Yeah, that's right.
He always plays the likable nerdy type character. And
he explains that he's staying here with his boyfriend who's out doing something and stuff like that. He's like an artist. He's doing like this, but he's not here and stuff like that. Introduces himself to him, shows him around a bit, shows him around the scene during the daytime. So headed to freaking doing this stuff during the day, rather it being all at night, because that's when the dirty, grimy shit happens. Exactly, and stuff like that. And the stuff's during the day where they're all talking and stuff like that, being happy-go-lucky, kind of forming a friendship a little bit.
And that's where you get the scene I mentioned earlier, where they're in the cafe and they're having some food. But yeah, I mean, it's just portrayed in such a friendly way. There's no sexual kind of undertone.
No, there isn't.
The two of them. They're just purely friends. I know maybe a bit later on in the film, maybe Ted does get the odd.
Steve Burns' character is I'll go undercover and stuff like that, but when he starts there, he's starting to learn the layout of everything on how to do this, how to get into this scene of these leather bars, how to get into the gay scene of these gay men to hopefully find this killer. Or that's what Sorvino says, you're going to meet me here at this time and stuff like that, just to tell me what's going on, blah, 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 and all this other stuff too. And he tells him, just be careful, because he says, this is a totally different scene than you're used to. It sets this up pretty well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So he starts to frequent all these gay bars now. He goes in the Ramrod, the Eagle's Nest, one's called, the Cockpit, another one. And he learns all about, that the different color handkerchiefs, if you wear them.
Yeah, he goes into a shop that has them all with Powers Booth in there. I recognized him the second I saw him. Another great actor. We lost him too soon. Yeah. Extreme Prejudice, I remember him for. He's done other things, of course. Tombstone, he's in that one. He played Doc Holliday in the Western back in the early 80s. Great actor for him. Yeah, he points out which each scarf or handkerchief means. You have the yellow, which means this. You have blue, which means this. I think he gets the yellow.
Yellow means a golden shower, but it depends on
what you want to do, right? Yeah. You put that on there if that's what you want.
If you're a giver or receiver.
Yeah, giver, receiver. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a great scene.
That's a terrific scene.
But yeah, like you say, he starts working out. He's trying to get all his body all buff. Right. He's starting wearing all these vests and all this black leather type gear. But yeah, he actually sees Joe Spinell because
he's sitting down. These dudes are going past him, and there's Spinell, all hair slicked back.
Yeah,
all this other stuff too, and that tells me he doesn't recognize him.
No, you are right. Yeah, he's super undercover.
There's a few others that are in that community that go past him. One dude comes up to him and stuff like that too, and he's like, "Nah, whatever. I'm just whatever like that." And he says, "Then get rid of the fucking handkerchief, dude.
Yeah,
get rid of that because it tells you basically you want to go and shower or something like that."
Yeah. So you've got this big, and again, this is real at the time. Central Park in New York had this, like late at night, they had these hot spots there where gay people.
Oh yeah, huge hot spots. Yeah.
And all that was real, and you could tell the way they filmed it. Just it's all on location. It's all real or authentic. But that's when John then he tells Captain Ellison about Tommy Mancusi, the Joker who owns all the gay bars.
Yes.
It's like police protected at one, he says, and I think they're playing pool. And
yeah, they're playing pool. Yeah,
saying, yeah, just keep me updated. Normal. Yeah, keep me updated.
Way away from the gay bar scene. Way away from that. You know what I mean? Like says, you can't be seen in public. There's no way. You get seen in public, you're busted. I have to take
right. Exactly. I think at this point, maybe him and only Ellison knows. I don't even think, like you say, Joe Spinell, none of the normal police officers know. So what I Like Freaking does now, he kind of turns it on his head, right? So you've got the killer from earlier, picks up this dude. They go to the park, New York Central Park for sex. He says the whole thing, who's here, I'm here, you're here. And then the killer
like
from
in these
earlier,
bushes, in this bush area and stuff like that too. It's completely dark. You recognize the voice of the dude.
Yeah.
That that's there wondering where he's at. It's done very well. It's like I'm here, you're here.
It's all done to confuse because the killer in the first scene gets killed in the second scene. So we are dealing with fucking two killers. I know people do dispute that and some of the reviews I've seen, but no, there's multiple killers in this. I don't think
I do believe that, and I do believe it's like, because spoiler a little bit here, the voices are different. William Friedkin, like you say, to your point when we started this, you mentioned that it ended up being a good thing that some of the voices were changed because it's a different voice for each killer. It's different.
He even does a thing later on in the film where there's a certain
third person,
talks the same voice as the killer.
Yes,
which is done just to throw you off. This is so ambiguous.
Yeah.
Like me and Dirk covered The Shinings last Sunday, and this is again so ambiguous. You'll have different, like Chris probably got a lot different thoughts to what I think,
Oh yeah,
going on. But yeah, like you say, he turns it on his head. John and Steve goes to see Nancy. Pretty much tells her not, I think they have sex, and he says,
"Oh yeah, he has the bleep out of her, dude, because he feels dirty." There's a scene I think he's dancing or trying to, and he takes a drug or something like that. I don't know if it's speed or something like that.
Huffing in it, I think.
Yeah. Oh yeah, angel dust. Which is that's a Latino thing. That's right. And then he just starts going off. So before Scarface a little bit here, which is my favorite role from him. But it's like he starts like dancing around and all this other stuff. That's when he goes to his girlfriend's place and just boings the hell out of him because he feels like dirty as hell. He's like, this isn't me. No. It's like, it's not. It's insane.
But you do, as the film goes on, you start to question whether he's getting a little bit too fucking much into it. Which, again, we got scenes coming up that I'm going to mention.
Like that scene in the trailer when he's working out and he's saying yes when he's going. He's like, yes. Yes, and all this other stuff, because you have to. That's what happens, man. You get in too deep, boy. You get like
you got the iconic, like you say, when he's dancing with the perm and the vest on, and man. Ted Bailey then he starts to say about his boyfriend Gregory's coming back tomorrow, and he kind of seems frightened of him, doesn't he?
Yes, he does.
He's like worried that he's coming back, and he's not sure whether he wants to really be with him and
be with him there and stuff like that.
So I think Ted,
technically the boyfriend's a loser to begin with, anyway.
Oh man, he shows up. Yeah, he's a horrible.
He's another damn beatnik. Just to like what can I do?
Do you think Ted was starting to fall for like I keep calling him John and Steve, but it's Steve, obviously, his undercover name.
Yes, yes, I do.
Ted is I do. Falling a little bit, yeah.
Yes, I think he is, yes. Because I think he is, because like I say, there's scenes like like in these bars and stuff like that too, where nothing really no dude really interests him. They do pick out who they think the killer is and stuff like say the Joker character that owns these bars. It comes up to another random death and stuff like that deals with like he's like a fashion designer. And he's like doing the stuff from the window with his flipping convertible and stuff like that too, with these mannequins, set them all up before he leaves. That's done. That sequence is done very good, very well.
It is.
I didn't see
that coming,
I think Ty West got that idea to do Maxine. I think, that scene where he goes to that place, he had to have seen Cruising. He had to have gotten that idea to do that scene in Maxine. You know which one I'm talking about. That's, when I think about that now, I'm like, because that's because he's going somewhere, he's going to meet somebody, right? He packs up all of his stuff, and that's a front because he's going to meet this person at this sex show type thing. You put in these quarters and you watch these heavily sexualized films, these gay films, like really dirty, hardcore XXX stuff. He goes in there, he puts the quarter in there, and he's just waiting for the person, right? And that's when you see that, right? You see him dressed up differently. You see the other people there all waiting and stuff like that. And you're thinking, oh, this is a community, man, where it's like, like looking around, make sure he doesn't get caught, and all this other stuff. Goes in there. He plays it. He's all waiting for it. Somebody else walks in there. This is a very good kill. Go on and take it from there, Darren, a bit of how that sequence goes.
They go into this peep show, like you say. But I do want to just touch upon the soundtrack as well. So you've got a lot of punk bands at the time.
Yeah, punk rock. Yep.
It's so fucking authentic, the soundtrack, to what was being played in these gay bars too. But yeah, just touching upon that scene you mentioned then. So you've literally got, we think it's the same killer now as it's obviously the same killer as the last kill, but couldn't be the first one, if you know what I mean. But we slowly start to learn his identity as the film goes on, which is not really a secret or anything. It's not a mystery element to that point.
Basically, the scene in the peep show is straight up from a slasher because the killer sitting right next to him. He puts I think his hand on his leg or whatever it is, and stuff's going on. And he stabs him and he kills him, and then he puts another quarter in to keep the thing going and stuff like that. That's a straight great slasher kill right there and stuff like that, where he opens the door and leaves as the video starts up again, as the film starts up again.
That's where they find they do have a lead with the fingerprint.
Yes.
It's not the same blood as the guy with the fingerprint. Which is so at this point now, John is, I keep saying John. I know technically I'm right. So Steve. So he's really into it now. Like you say, he's getting pumped. When he's in the one club scene as well, there's a scene of these gay men, they're doing fisting.
The dude's all chained up. It's like a torture scene, like that. Yeah.
And you've got these guys sucking on things.
It's sweaty. Is that the one where they're all dressed up as police? Is that the one? Because he gets kicked out of that because they notice him because he's not dressed up like the rest of them. So he's kind of like, they think he's a narc.
I think they think he's a narc. They think
Yeah.
he's a police officer.
Yeah, they think he's a narc. He's like, why aren't you dressed up or whatever like that? Because, you know, it's police officer night and stuff like that. Because that's a code. So, you know, freaking wanted to put that out there. That's a code. Like you don't go in being to these nights because you have to know, right? So it makes them a little bit suspicious of like, you didn't know that whatever like that, get out of here. That's when he leaves. It's like,
exactly, yeah. And
he's all casual about it. He's like, okay, because these are big dudes. They'll beat your ass. They will beat they'll beat the dog piss out of him. He's like, okay, yeah. I'm going.
You just don't fuck with these people. But what he sees there, and he sees this one guy called Skip Lee, and he's a bit of a how would you call him? Like a bit of a drug addict character. He's like into
that's the scene at the pinball machine. He's trying to hit on that dude at the pinball machine. Was that the one?
Yeah. Well, he sees it. I think he sees him in the club as well.
Yeah, and he tells him get the F away from me and stuff like that too. That scene and stuff like that. And he points him out. He's like, okay. Because that's who he asks who that is, and one of the guys mentions that, like, who's that there? It's like, oh, that's so and so.
Yeah, they find out like he's a waiter. That's where Ed O'Neill comes in. He plays.
Yeah, they go to this place because the steak knives, because the victim had a steak knife. Servino says this is what we're dealing with here, because the head of the police, the police chief, played by Alan Miller, who I've seen in other stuff as well. I'm trying to think what I've seen him in, but I do recognize him. He's really young in here, but you can tell who it is and stuff like that, because he's like, do you have anything here? It's like, we're working on it and stuff like that. That'll lead to an interrogation, which is totally off the wall.
You'll never see
like insane.
Like that,
you won't see anything like it. It's like, it's pretty crazy.
So the cops, they figure out now from the kills of the actual knife that's being used, or the style of knife that's being used. So Steve takes like Skip Lee back to this like motel, and he's all wired up to see if he's the killer, literally. But what's so disturbing about that scene is how fast Steve will fucking go, because he's tied up with his hands behind his back. This guy's literally can penetrate him at any moment. And this is the part of the film where you start to think.
That's right. That's when he like takes him to his place, right? He meets him and stuff like that. He goes, "Want to go? Yeah, let's go up to my apartment." That's right. That's when they happen to break in, because he lets them know, right, what's kind of going on. But he says, "Yeah, you don't want to come in here at this time, dude. Just wait to see what happens." No, they don't wait at all.
And he's literally on the verge of, some bad shit happening.
That's right. To your point with the Ed O'Neill character, because I had a hard time recognizing him when they go into this fancy restaurant. Then you see the dude who has these steak knives and stuff like that. He's like, "I'll get this steak," or something like that, right? They're all sitting there so ambiguous, right? Where it's like, yeah. And he like just get the stuff so they can get that as evidence and stuff like that. So I'm like, oh shit, that's Ed O'Neill. Holy shit, he looks young there.
Man,
it's crazy.
To be like fucking Al Bundy turn up in.
Yeah, Al Bundy. He's a good actor. He's done other stuff in the past.
He's doing another sitcom at the moment, I think. I've not seen it.
But he's from Modern Family, of course, like that. I remember him from Married with Children. I mean, that's what I'm saying. He played a detective in other films too as well. But yeah,
he's
like I said,
a really good episode of Midnight Caller. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah, I've heard of that one before. Yeah,
where you've got this radio guy and he goes under, he's kind of doing all these cases. He's in a brilliant one of that. If you can get to it and look that up. Nice. But then you've got the interrogation scene, as you said. So Skip Lee, then
with the police chief there. The police chief goes in there later. Talk about police brutality, dude. They're going off on him,
and they've got to go they've got to treat Steve in exactly the same way, because they can't break cover or anything. So Steve's like fucking this big fucking black guy in this cowboy hat. He's got like a thong, just only a thong on. And he starts slapping and beating the shit out of Steve. And he's like, what the fuck? What the fuck?
What the hell's going on here? Yeah.
And that was all done for real. That was done for real. Because if you're sat in court and the judge says to you, well, what's going on? What happened? And you turn around and say, this big black guy, the judge would just laugh you out the court.
Yeah. And it's like, why the hell did they do that? Even the police chief is like going, like when they do everything right, the black dude's like sitting there and stuff like that too, and he says, "What the hell?" Al Pacino. I mean, flipping Steve Burns is pissed. He's like, "Dude, like what the hell?"
6'7", this black guy as well. It's just brilliant. And I think like not a lot was known at the time that this would go on. But it did. Freaking's like adamant on that fact as well.
You think the case is kind of blown like wide open and stuff like that because the prints or the whatever like that just don't match. They just don't match this dude at all. It's like crazy.
Exactly. So the sample of his sperm don't match either. But Ed O'Neill comes out with this great line. I think it's Ed O'Neill. He's on about giving him the floating balls test.
Right. We're going to stick your nuts in water. We're going to stick them in water and do all this stuff too. I'm like, dude, I'm cracking up. I'm like, holy shit.
I'm like, fucking, are you for real? When I first saw this, man, it's just
like you can't. It's police brutality. Like, dude, he can sue the police department. Like, yeah, they're not even doing that now.
When he comes out with that line, the floating balls test, it's done so straight as well. There's no like comedy element.
It's like, you know what we can do? Yeah, We can do this, like, because they're trying to make him do a false statement.
Exactly. It's telling him to strip off as well, because you've got to do
Now,
this.
off topic a little bit, they have done interrogations like this in the past to make you admit something you didn't do. Make no mistake, this happens a lot of the time.
Oh yeah,
it's
this
like,
guy's
dude,
terrified. Yeah,
it's insane.
It is. Yeah, it's just so good, that interrogation scene. So like you say, the print of the quarter doesn't match up with Skip, so we know he's not the killer. Steve shows up and Nancy's then, and then she's on about she wants to cool off the relationship a little bit, which he's like, oh, okay, fine, if that's what you want.
Yeah, he leaves. He's like there for a second in the refrigerator drinking something, and then he just goes.
But he has second thoughts then to Edelson about doing the job. He's like, I don't think I can carry on doing this. It's really fucking me up. But Edelson's like, you need to carry on doing this. We've got a yearbook of so one of the earlier kills was a professor. So they've got this professor's like students all in this yearbook. If you can pick out one of them guys,
the professor that was killed. Yeah, one of the professors that was killed. We found him like this, right? That's not the first kill that you see. No, that was one before that. Like this guy, because he used that as an example. This guy was a professor. This is how we found him. Yeah. The same as the victim after that.
Yeah. So he literally says, but one of the faces just kind of rings out to him, doesn't he? He's seen this one guy before, and then he ends up seeing him in the club. And again, it's no kind of, they let you know all this up front. There's no secret. The guy's called Stuart Richards. He's a music graduate.
Yeah, played by Richard Cox as Stuart Richards.
Brilliant portrayal of the character.
A jock type looking character. He runs every day. He has the long hair, but he has these drinking buddies that he goes with and stuff like that too. It's quite interesting.
It is, yeah, because Steve.
Same thing with the roommate that he had and stuff like that, which was all ad-libbed by the way the apartment that he was living in looked like and stuff like that. Very
realistic.
Very realistic. Yeah.
Steve starts like eyeing and watching his apartments, and at first, like this guy doesn't.
Yeah, because he's trying to figure out. Yeah, he's like doing detective work basically,
like surveillance.
No cameras, nothing like that. Just watching his habits of when this stuff is going on, when these murders are happening.
Something doesn't sit right with Steve. He knows this guy's up to no good. He breaks into his apartment and then he finds all the letters to his dad, which is
very interesting because he takes out the fan, the air conditioning unit, like in the window. He takes that out. He goes in here. Is this before he goes back to his apartment and finds out the boyfriend has shown up and stuff like that?
This is before, yeah.
Yeah, that's before that. Okay.
So he finds all these letters, and they're really weird. Like
to his dad, to his father.
Yeah. And he's kind of like coming out to his dad, and he wants his dad to accept the way he is.
He's saying he's not implying that to me. He's not implying that. He's implying because they kind of show the notes kind of quickly and stuff like that. Like, today I did this or something like that. I have these thoughts and something's going on and stuff like that. It's like a diary a little bit. The way he kind of writes it.
That. So my own take on that is I think he's trying to have acceptance from his father, who we find out a little bit later on because we see the scene he's passed away, but we do see him on the bench.
Yeah, there's a scene on the bench that we will get to.
With the killer's voice as well.
Yeah, it's the killer's voice, which is his it's the actor's college teacher in real life. So he had him get him to do this part, and it's it's like a trippy scene, but we'll get to that too. I'm like, wait a minute.
So my little take on this. So I'm thinking the motivation of the killer, I think he's repulsed by the fact that he's a homosexual. And that's why he's disgusted by it, and that's why he's killing these victims. That's how
psychopaths, sociopaths, and serial killers is. They're repulsed by what they are. They're always ashamed by what they are. They're pissed off at themselves more than they're pissed off at the people they're killing.
So, you're spot on. So you've got the scene then where he's on a bench with his father, and his father in this killer's voice, like literally the killer's voice.
Well, he goes into he comes back to his apartment. He notices that something's been moved, and then he looks to see if anything's been, like messed around with. That's where it's like a switch goes off a little bit. Like you say, the conversation on the bench is like, you see him sitting there like with his kind of back to him a little bit on the bench, and he's like, says the weirdest shit where you're like, wait a minute,
He says, you know what to do, like in the killer's voice.
Well, he's like, I always wanted to like impress you. So it's a weird conversation. It's hard for me to kind of say word for word, but the dad says something weird to him where it doesn't make no sense to me, where I'm like,
right.
Okay. Yeah. Just totally kind of like disavows him. Right. Where obviously daddy issues, it's daddy issues. Like, it's either serial killers. I always say that. Mommy issues, it's daddy issues. His parents, it's issues with the parents.
What makes that scene so chilling as well, that we find out that his dad's dead. So this is all in his imagination. At this
that's all in his imagination.
And I mean, with this one, you can't really spoil it because people make up their own opinions, but we've got to talk about
Norman Bates. Yeah.
But then you get the scene where Steve visits Ted, and like he's like Ted's arguing and talking to his boyfriend. I think they're arguing about something up in their place. That's where you've got the whole thing with the boyfriend as well, where he kind of pulls a knife on Steve. Steve, for no reason, just tries to kick the door down.
The dude's not there. It's just him and stuff like that too.
Yeah,
he closes the door and then he's pacing. I mean, Steve is pissed. He's annoyed. He goes in there, almost has like a tussle with him and stuff like that. That's when he brings out the knife on him and stuff like that. You get the hell out of here and stuff like that. That's when he finally decides to leave. Yeah.
And then you've got the jump scene then where the boyfriend then he's like peering out the door to fucking see if he's still there, and then Steve kicks the fucking door in, like a fucking good effective jump scene. But even
Pacino, when he gets pissed, he does a great job. He's always done a great job of getting pissed off as an actor. Like he just does.
Yeah.
Like, it's definitely Pacino. It's a Pacino film.
Oh man, it's a great scene. But then again, freaking turns the whole thing on its head as well, because you've got the character then of Ted being murdered later on in the film.
Yes.
So you've got all these gay killers, killing slayers.
We'll get to that too. Yeah, that's kind of like towards the climax of the film, because that's when he sets him up a little bit. So there's a scene where he's getting all ready to go out at night and stuff like that. And it's the place in the park, right? A bench.
Yeah.
And he sees him because they're kind of like, it's like a meeting and stuff like that. He has the hat on.
He knows that he knows that
Stewart has the hat on. He has the gear on, but he has the hat on. So it's a great scene. He's sitting on this bench, like sitting on top of the bench, right? You sit where you're supposed to sit and stuff like that too. Pacino sits right, Steve sits right next to him. Right next to him. Got a cigarette, stuff like that too. Does all this other stuff
but
too.
He knows he does know that Steve's been following him at this point too.
It does. Yeah. It does. It takes a while.
Yeah.
I like it where it takes a while and stuff like that too. He goes, so where you want to go and stuff like that and do this and stuff like that. And he's like, well, your place. He goes, I have a place. I have a spot, which is underneath this bridge, right? So it's underneath this bridge.
Central Park. Yeah.
In this area, which is like insanely good.
And Steve starts saying that rhyme as well, doesn't he?
Yes, he does.
Starts saying the rhyme. Who's here? I'm here. And,
you're here.
They kind of like agree to have sex, like you say, in the tunnel. And then you've got the big scene where Steve ends up like literally stabbing him. Again, I don't think it's too much to give away.
No, it's not too much to give away here, because it's like it's what you perceive of what's going on here.
These scenes at the end without giving too much away, but it won't deter you. Your enjoyment.
It won't deter you at all. Yeah, he basically stabs him, but he doesn't kill him. He ends up in the hospital. They say, we found the letters. Your father's dead. The father's been dead for, I forget, they say how much, like whatever, because they talk to his friends too about him.
Right.
He talked to his drinking buddy about him and stuff like that too. When he talks and stuff like that, he says something, but it's not his voice. It's
That's
not
right,
him.
yeah.
It's his dad's.
It's his dad's voice.
And I'm like,
so he's got two, like, very much the same as the last film, where you've got a character
it's
with
paranoid
two different
schizophrenia. It's kind of
two
paranoid
different
schizophrenia a little
personalities.
bit. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Alternate personalities. It's very Brian De Palma-like.
Yeah,
it's Raising Cain that he did years later.
Raising Cain, yeah. They give him the kind of deal, like they say, well, if you admit to all these gay murders, like Paul Bateson in the original case, then we'll only give you 8 years, and that's where freaking got that from.
I forget what does he say and stuff like that.
He says I didn't kill anybody. He never. He just
I didn't. In the voice of his father, which was very good by freaking. Where you don't pick up on it, you just don't. If you don't watch the extras, you don't realize that. I'm just going to say that you don't, unless you pay close attention to the film, which I suggest. I highly suggest this film, by the way. You'll pick it up. I mean, but man, like. Go ahead, Darren. Like, I'm kind of lost.
Edelson basically tells him then, tells Steve, you're going to get your promotion. You're going to have to go to court, but we've got it all covered. You were doing it in self-defense when you stabbed him. Yeah. So now he's promoted to detective. Like you say, we find out Stewart's father has been dead for the last 10 years, which makes all those letters and kind of that scene on the bench makes sense a little.
It's like a diary.
Really creepy.
Yeah, it's like a diary.
Creepy.
Sending him to a ghost. Yeah.
But then you've got the other twist. So Ted's body is found mutilated.
Right. He gets a call, or he goes back up to his place to get the rest of his stuff. He goes in there and he sees him sprawled out dead. He got stabbed multiple times, eyes wide open, all this other stuff too. Flipping. Let's see here.
His boyfriend's pretty much gone on the run.
Patrolman DeSimone is there telling the because he's not there. Steve's not there, but DeSimone is there, and so is the captain.
Edelson,
Edelson is there. He goes, "What happened?" He goes, "I came in here. We got a call. Came in here. He was dead. Like, don't know what's going on." But Spinell's character is there, which I believe he's not a police officer. I believe they go with the actual story with that. I don't think he's a cop, because he asks him what his name is. He goes, "What's your name again?" And he goes, I'm DeSimone and stuff like that.
And then
too.
You've got that
That's when it clicks. That's when it clicks, and he's like,
but he lets that completely go. He doesn't like. He knows he realize with the transvestite.
That's at the point where his heart sinks, where he's like, "Oh shit!" Like,
I think, he realizes.
It's like I had it, and it's like whatever, like that. It's very sad, in my opinion. It's like, wow, it kind of hits you. It hits you pretty hard.
Yeah, I just think Edelson at that point is like, well, I can't be bothered to go through all that shit again.
I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, but the boyfriend then, he's on the run, so it's pretty much a shut down case where they'd had a lovers quarrel.
And then he killed him out of rage.
Gregory killed Ted.
Yeah,
but did he? Right. So this is the question of the film. Did fucking Steve kill Ted?
Yeah,
because Steve is now. Again, this is open to interpretation. People might not agree with me, but as Steve got into the fact that he's into these roles a bit too much, start doing gay shit, hates himself for doing it, and's killed Ted. I mean, I don't know, maybe.
Does he? The ending scene we won't spoil here with this film, but it interprets something where. I agree with you, Darren. There's definitely more than one killer. It just goes to the point. Friedkin did this very good, in my opinion, of these murders that were going on to the end of the 60s, towards the end of the 70s. I always say the 70s were the most tumultuous decade in the world's history, not just in this country, but in Italy and Europe.
Yeah.
Just like stuff was at a boiling point, and this film just gets it to a T. I really like the ending a lot with this and stuff like that too. And what else can you say about Cruising? The score is done very well. It has Friedkin's touch to these films, like it always does. He has The score is done very well. Like you say, there was issues with this film. Of course there was, like you say, with the protests and all this stuff too. Being banned from two leather bars in general, you know, it's just like, no, you're not doing this shit here. It's a very controversial film. I like it a lot.
This goes with, so there's a film called Windows that came out in 1979, 6 months before this, and it's all about a female like lesbian killer. So they had exactly the same problems that
You've
had
mentioned Windows. Yeah, you've mentioned Windows before.
Man, if you get a chance to see that, it's on Screen Factory. I don't know if it's out of print, but it's I love that film. And it does play as a nice companion piece to this. I love that final scene as well, where we're not going to give away the Pacino scene, but
no,
they just literally show the River Hudson, and we realize that these killings are just going to continue and continue.
Yeah, it shows the good skyline of the city. I do like that of New York, like say from the Hudson in general. So you all go back to the beginning of that film, definitely.
Yeah. So the original killings were called the Bag Murders. I don't think I said that earlier. But yeah, it just goes on, you know. In the community, these killers just keep going on and on. That's kind of what Freaking wanted you to believe. Man, I don't know about you. I think this is one of the best. I put this in as a slasher and a fucking giallo.
Me too. Yeah, definitely.
I think
it's a gritty. It's a gritty slasher from the start of the decade of the 80s.
Yeah,
where you got these
its own against the likes of Maniac. I mean, it's fucking up there with the best, I think, you know.
Very good. I give this I'll give my ranking first. I give this a solid 8 out of 10. A high 8 out of 10. That can go higher. So between these two right here, yeah, I love them both, but yeah, this one definitely. I do like it. I know it's a controversial film. I know not everybody in this community likes it. I put my biases aside for anything. You give me films like this and stuff like that too. Yeah, these are quintessential American Giallo films in my opinion. Each one is different for what they are. Each one stands out from the rest of what they are. I'm not saying this is Freakin's best film. I really like Sorcerer. I really like that film. Of course, you have The Exorcist, but this is up there. It's something different. It's Al Pacino. Yeah, this is a great one, but definitely solid high 8 out of 10 for me. So I definitely need to maybe check out that 4K, see how that transfer is.
It's amazing transfer. For me, this is like a 9.5, bordering on a 10. It's not quite as good as The Exorcist, but nothing is, I don't think, really.
Yeah.
In terms of like just notoriety and, you know, and even the name Cruising, I know a lot of people, probably myself included, for a lot of years didn't even realize what this film was, because Cruising doesn't really tell you the subject matter, or you probably think it's kind of like some comedy or something until you actually sit down and watch it. But no, high 9.5. But like you say, it's almost flawless. It's almost flawless to me. So, but I'm like you. I can get why people don't, you know, relate to this film. Yeah, just what can you say? Cruising, man. You can put Alice, Sweet Alice in with the American Giallos as a
yes, absolutely you can. Yeah, of course, Dress to Kill. We've mentioned that before.
Yeah,
some later ones. I think Freakin did Jade as well. I think he did.
He did, yeah, 1995.
Yeah. That I haven't seen that film in years. That's kind of a thing with Giallo elements wise for the most part. Yeah, they're just like I say. These two are bangers. Definitely check them out, everybody, if you haven't just yet. I hope we did a good job with introducing these to you all, or just giving our good perspective on it. And yeah, I really appreciate this. This was a great idea from Darren. Good idea. Very unique slasher stream on American Giallos. So definitely had fun doing this one. And yeah, both are bangers, but yeah, just Cruising a little bit more I like than Eyes of Laura Mars, but both of these are highly rewatchable as well. So, what do you have and Dirk have coming up there, Darren, on your channel?
So on Sunday we've got like a Soledad Miranda special. Nightmares Come at Night. She Killed in Ecstasy, and Count Dracula from Just Franco.
Oh, very nice. Very
But,
nice. I'll definitely have to check
yeah.
that one out. Yeah, because I'm thinking about checking that out. That's considered one of his better films.
Right, yeah. So I think Dirk wants to, because she died at a very young age in a car crash. So we're gonna kind of go over some of her life and what have you, some of her better roles. Yeah, and I think I can't even think further than that, to be honest. But we have got a lot planned for the next few weeks as well. We got
Absolutely.
Alice, Sweet Alice, maybe I think might be the week after, but I'll have to double check.
Very cool. Yeah, like as for me, thank you all for checking out my content. I recently did my thoughts on A Clockwork Orange. I love that film. Thank you very much for all those who checked that one out as well. And
Yeah,
just my other thoughts on coming up. My next thoughts is going to be on Interstellar with Matthew McConaughey. So expect that one. I recently did a poll on my channel. And then my next Terror Tuesday is Beyond the Door. So be sure to check that one out. I did Nefarious this last Tuesday. This one yesterday. I really like that one. That's a good exorcism, not an exorcist, but a good possession film. It's very much a Christian type looking film, but I definitely check it out. It's definitely a very unique film, and I like it a lot as well. Slasher Saturday, I have an idea. I might do Fatal Games. About time I maybe watch that one, maybe do Fatal Games for Third Tuesday. Next up on Off the Blade, we're talking about serial killers. So for the future one for Off the Blade, Ted Bundy. So we're going to be talking about, me and Darren are going to be talking about The Deliberate Stranger, Mark Harmon playing Ted Bundy, and also Extremely Wicked and Shockingly Evil and Vile. So with Zac Efron playing Ted Bundy. I've seen this film before. It's on Netflix. It's actually quite good. It's probably one of Zac Efron's best roles, to tell you the truth. He does a good job for that one. So expect that one. Yeah. Also, Giallo Rex in the future as well, where Darren gave me three pretty cool Giallos to check out, definitely. I did pre-order that Forgotten Giallo Volume 8.
I did as well. Yeah,
Red Rings of Fear. I had versus points, so I added in Iced since they only had like 4 or 5 left. So I added that to that. So definitely was definitely worth it for that. And great content in the future.
So me and Dirk are going to be on Region 3 as well next Thursday, I believe. So I mean, a lot of people in this community will know that as well. I'm Visited by Voices Network. So I just want to get that in with Dan, Sam, and Lorne. Jonathan, mate, Boombastic as well, might be on there. So
very cool. Yeah, absolutely. Definitely check that out. And like I said, Giallo Rex, and then Slasher Stream episode 10, that's going to be a big one. And then a future project I'm going to talk to Darren about after the stream here, which I think he'll like a lot and stuff like that. So, great stuff on the horizon. And we do this for fun and for the love of physical media and the love of films in general. So thank you all for checking this out. Check out the replay, please, if you can. Hit that like, hit that subscribe. Check out all these channels, man. All great people here, all great community. I am Chrissy. I'm the Film Nerd. That's Darren from Subjective Perspective Collective. And we'll see you all next time. You all have a great evening or wherever you're all at. So
have a good one, guys.